What's the schedule this week, Palmer? D linemen, linebackers working out tomorrow?
So tomorrow morning, so today we heard from defensive linemen and linebackers. The way it works is the schedule for these guys is that they arrive, they do some team meetings and meetings with the NFLPA and stuff on day 1. Day 2, they talk to the media, continue with team interviews. Day 3, they go through on-field workouts, more team interviews, and then and their measures. And then day 4, they do bench press and depart from Indianapolis. So today was day 1 for the defensive linemen and linebackers. They'll take the field tomorrow. We will hear from, today was day 2 for those guys. Day 1 with dealing with the media. We will hear from defensive backs and specialists tomorrow, while linebackers and defensive linemen go through their on-field drills. That second group of DBs and specialists take the field on Friday, and that's when we will hear from, in the morning, quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends. That group works out on Saturday, when we will hear from running backs and offensive linemen. And then running backs and offensive linemen close out the combine for us on Sunday. NFL Network will have coverage 3 p.m., 3 p.m., 1 p.m., 1 p.m. Over the course of those 4 days. And we will have you covered from the interview sessions in the morning with those 12 Georgia players, 9 more to go.
What are you looking forward to the most? Which interview now? I mean, all this stuff is probably going to change. I mean, every player is going to have to answer different questions than they were originally going to have to answer now. But outside of that narrative, who do you want to hear from the most?
I mean, Stetson is always going to be the answer. Even before this, Stetson is probably going to be asked his own questions about off-field things and his arrest that occurred in Dallas. There's going to be questions for him that come from that. And so, that was always, even if you include the off-field stuff, Stetson was the answer. If you exclude that, Stetson probably is still the answer. Just the questions that he will be asked, the quotes that we know he gives. He's a good interviewer.
See how he's been coached up on how to answer the questions about himself and how he's gotten back to work. I mean, there's been some workout videos. The gremlins are just relentless tonight. I can't share any videos, but you've seen the videos more than likely of Stetson working out now in Dallas, putting some considerable zip on the football. I mean, he really does have an opportunity now at the combine, and I don't know what his Georgia Pro Day plans will be, but he's got an opportunity to put some of that stuff behind him if he can show what he's been showing in these videos at the combine, connecting with receivers.
It's a big few days for him.
Yeah,
big few days.
The on-field workout that I'm looking forward to the most would be, I'll give you one on both sides of the ball. And I guess my answer changes on defense. I was really looking forward to seeing Keely Ringo work out. That's one that I think has always people have always had circled because he's a freak. There's a freak on the offensive side of the ball that's 6'7" and plays tight end that I'm looking forward to seeing in Darnell, Washington. But I will add in now, given today's interviews and the answer that he gave, I'm really looking forward to seeing Nolan Smith back in action. I mean, the season-ending injury end of October. He is not going to bench press this week. But I asked him, I said, hey, you're not going to bench press. Are you going to work out on the field, or are you going to save that for pro day? He said, no, man, I'm a football player. I'm here to play football. I'm going to work out on the field. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Dog.
Yeah, look, Jake, can you put into words what it was like the first time you saw Darnell Washington in person? It really does not do it justice, even on television. When you see the guy out there compared to big dudes, sometimes on the TV, you don't realize how big those dudes are, and they look normal.
I tell you what, man,
a mountain of a human being.
It would have caught me a lot more off guard the first time I saw him in person if I didn't see Isaiah Wilson a lot more in person. Isaiah Wilson is the most hide the sunshine person I think I've ever met in my entire life. Both him and Ben Cleveland. Georgia had them on the same team, which is outrageous, I think. And then they had Ben Cleveland and Darnell on the same team in 2020, I believe. So I mean, they've had some big dudes, man. And I tell you another dude that was like that, Devin Willock. Devin Willock was that kind of dude as well. I mean, Georgia's had a lot of big ones, but watching Darnell move in person, I think is the main thing, is like watching him get in the open field, watching people try to tackle him, somebody try to tackle him low, he hurdles. He's a special player. And, if he can get in there and bust, if he can break 4.7 in the 40, or I think maybe if he can break 4.75 in the 40, I think some teams are really going to like him. And, all this talk about Todd Monken, right? And Todd Monken possibly drafting Stetson Bennett. I've said I don't see that happen. I still don't. Talking to some people, I get the impression that if Todd Monken has a chance to draft Darnell Washington, he'll draft Darnell Washington, because those two, that is a guy, Darnell, that Todd Monken loves.
An offensive tackle that can catch the football and is allowed to do it. Yeah. That's a big one. I mean, he could take Darnell and Kenny McIntosh in the same draft potentially.
Yeah. But on one hand, it would be cool. On the other hand, if that Ravens juju is still around with everybody getting injured, hope those guys don't go there. Maybe they can flush that Ravens juju before that happens.
But hey, the Ravens do have, and I think I've said this on here before, the Ravens do have the most Georgia players in the league.
Oh, they do? For some reason, I thought it was the Giants.
No, I think because DeAndre Baker is not with the Giants anymore.
Lorenzo Carter's not with the Giants.
It's sorry, I'm distracted by Alabama, Auburn. There was a little bit of a scuffle in their basketball game. But yeah, they've got Nick Moore, Ben Cleveland,
Roquan.
Roquan.
Yeah, Roquan, that's right.
And Houston as well.
Palmer just pulled a Brent Musburger. Do y'all remember when Brent Musburger was kind of in the sunset of his TV career with the SEC network? And he'd be I don't know, y'all might have been in the press box. Palmer, you were probably in school.
No, I remember in middle
exactly school.
What
I don't
you're
know.
Talking about.
But he'd be watching a Georgia game, doing the call with Palmer, different Palmer, Jesse Palmer. And he would be calling the game, but then also looking off the screen and talking about what was happening in the Iron Bowl or with AJ McCarron's girlfriend.
I believe the main thing, the number one game this happened in was the 2016 Georgia-Missouri game, when I believe Georgia and Alabama and Ole Miss were playing, and Ole Miss there was a game that came down to the wire. Ole Miss had beaten Alabama, and I remember watching that replay because everybody was complaining about Musburger and how he wouldn't stop talking about the Ole Miss Alabama game. I think that was the one. But yeah, he did like to. I think he probably had to sprinkle a little on the on that one.
I think he was always just hoping that McCarron's girlfriend was there.
Probably he did.
Or that
flip
they'd
out
show
there.
Catherine Webb.
that Webb was there, that they'd show the Alabama quarterback's fiance.